Good morning, everyone. Reva here with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and we are going to talk about rotary cutting today. Specifically, Quilter Select rotary cutters, also generically the sizes of rotary cutters and why one is better than another or why, and they're not. They're different, right? So we're going to talk about that. But we are going to be talking about Quality Quilter Select. Can I talk today? No, apparently not. But we're going to talk about Quilter Select today, and there's a reason why, and there's a reason why we carry them in our stores, and that's why we're talking about it, because we have them. And number two is the reason why we carry them in the store, and that is because of their quality, and it's going to help make your job and craft easier, and it's going to, you know, my daddy always said the right tool for the right job gives you the right results. So that's what we're going to go for today. So if you have any questions or anything like that, put them in the chat. Love to chat with you today. But let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to do the overhead real quick because I want to walk through some of the things here. So we have the Quilter Select mat here, and then I have a couple of rules. I'm going to come back and talk about these. The general Quilter Select rulers are yellow and they're kind of frosted. And there's a reason for that. They come in all the basic sizes plus specialty shapes, etc. There's even a free motion quilting ruler, which is pretty awesome. But one thing I want you to notice about the mat, and then that is also the ruler, is that the markings, which you have to trust me on this, the markings are left to right and right to left. Quilter Select is designed by Alex Anderson, and she is a lefty, just like me. And so it's really nice to have tools that can go either way without having a specialty. So now if you look at the mat has 1 inch marks, and then it's marked at every 1/8 of an inch, plus the markings that are at quarters, like 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4, are longer than the 1/8 marking. So it's really easy to see what marking you're working on. You will also see that you have 45, 60, and 30-degree angles drawn on the mat as well. The mat itself, I guess I said overhead, but let's go back to the front real quick. So the mat is light on one side and dark on the other. And the inside, I don't know if you can see from there, but inside, in between the layers, oh, hey, great, that's awesome. There is a white core. That white core is a foamy magic. It's probably marshmallow fluff. I don't know what it is, but what it's designed to do is give it a flexible core, so that way as you're cutting, there is some give to the mat, so the blade goes in cleanly and cuts just very, very nice. And if you ever transport a mat and it's rolled up, it will unroll and it will flatten back out. So you see it's not quite flat here, but oh, now it is. So it will go back to shape, which is absolutely wonderful. Okay, so the surface is smooth and flat, but one thing when we're doing rotary cutting, and you have a rotary cutting ruler and you have a mat, is that sometimes you're like, okay, which line do I follow? Do I follow the line on the mat, and if it's chubby, do I follow the left, the center? How do I line things up? And the same thing with the markings on the rulers. So now if you take a look at how this lines up, if you take a look, the lines on the ruler, and I'm going to tip it a little bit so you can see, because I don't have it lined up at all, haha, but the lines actually match. The ruler and the mat actually line up perfectly, so you're able to line up your mat and your ruler and cut very efficiently. Sorry. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind there as well. And the mat itself is both left and right-handed as well. Okay, there's a couple of new rulers. We have the cute pink ones. There's even some pink rotary mats and a pink little rotary mat from Poppy Cotton, really stinking cute. You can see it's frosted. It has that grip on it. Boy howdy, why am I going to have I have a tickle? What do I do? Inhale a fuzz? Let me show you what the why that frosted backing is so cool. So one thing about the yellow ones, and actually if we come up to me real quick, let me show you something. The yellow mats or rulers are really awesome because you can see, look at that, you can see the markings on my jacket, but if it's on something dark, you can see the markings as well. So the yellow is visible on both light and dark fabrics, which is really cool. Now this backing has a grip'em to it. So when I set this down on my fabric, I can move the ruler, but the fabric stays with it, okay? It doesn't want to shimmy out. So let me show you how this will work real quick. I'll be good. I'll conserve some of the fabric, right? So if you're truing up blocks or anything like that, you can just set the ruler right on your fabric like you need it to be, and then just go right around it, and it will stick to the fabric, and then you get a precise cut because it gripped to the fabric. You don't get the fabric slipping out. I love this when I'm doing flying geese. For some reason, I like triangles. Not that I like to make them, but I like quilts that have triangles in them. So I'm always trimming and truing up. And this works really well. Okay. Now, you'll notice that the pink ruler has a frosted surface to it too. So it has that same grip'em. It's just cute, right? And there are different sizes in the poppy cottons as well. They have a new one out, so some of you might not have seen this. And this is the new crystal clear ruler. And it also has, you can see it has a little bit of a soft focus here. Oh, I was going to do something funny, but I won't now. But it has that little bit of a film on it, so it has some grip'em to it as well, which is very important. It's both left and right-handed for cutting, but the crystal rulers actually come in some sizes that are not available in the yellow, so that's kind of a neat thing as well. So some people don't care for the yellow rulers, so the clear works for you, or heaven's sakes, that pink, because it's stinking cute. Okay, let's talk about the rotary cutters themselves. Now, there are 3 basic sizes. There's the 45, the 60. I should go this way, shouldn't I? Let's go over here. The 45, this is the 45, this is the 60, and this is the 28. Okay, so now they do different jobs, and you may not know why you need one size over another, so we're going to talk about it. Your workhorse, your do-all, be-all one is your 45. It's your general cutting ruler. It's going to be great for cutting quilting cotton and cutting shapes and everything like that. If you have a nice long piece of fabric, that's great. So here's my width of fabric. I have it folded in half, and then let's true up. Well, this side's really bad, so let's true up that side. I'm going to align my ruler onto here, and let me move it over so I'm not falling off. Just look at both sides. Now, you're going to want to stand up when you rotary cut. Let's say that, and I'm not. So there you go. Okay, so now let's talk about how these rotary cutters work. First thing when you notice them is they're weighty. They have heft to them because that way it does a lot of the work for you. Okay, that's why they're heavy. So when you're cutting, it's ergonomic. You can hold it properly in your hand without twisting your wrist, and you can just use it very, very easily. Now, and without much pressure. Okay, and then also you'll notice there's 2 sides to the rotary cutter. This is the front side, this is the working side, and this is the back side. Let's look at the working side first. There's a button right here. This button is the release for the safety. Can you see the black rim around the cutter? This is your safety so you don't get cut. When you don't, well, you never want to, but it won't cut fabric either when the safety is on. So how you work this is you push that, I gotta get my wrist, you push the button and then you set it down and then you cut. When you're done cutting, you lift it up and see how the guard is not on the bottom of the blade. Then you turn it over and set it down, and it puts the blade back so it's surrounding the entire guard. Can you see that? Can you see how the guard's all the way around that? Okay, so you push the button, you set it down, you cut, and then you turn it the other way. Okay, what we see a lot of times is people do this. We're going to pretend that this is the blade end, and they'll go like this, and they'll hit it, and then when they're done, they go and they hit it again. Don't do that. What did the blade ever do to you? Nothing. So, and also you don't want to give your blade a flat spot, right? So all you do is push the button, set it down, cut, and turn it over. Same thing if you're right-handed, push the button, set down, turn it over. And notice it cut beautifully. Well, you saw it cut. No, you didn't. But it works beautifully left or right-handed. And if you happen to be left-handed, great. If you're right-handed, great. But if you're like me and you do both, it's really handy to not have to worry about how you're picking that up. Now, another thing that happens, we're going to go back to the closing one, is people will notice the back side here. And they'll notice this because if you use like the orange is Olfa, I think, right? And it has that little, you pull the guard back. So people think, therefore, this is the guard. I need to pull it back. And they do that, and the blade falls out. No, that is not the guard. That is the quick release for the blade. And this is really cool. You'll notice the blade is magnetized to the holder, so you don't actually have to touch the blade, which is pretty cool. And then I'll just set it back in there, and then I'm just going to push that back into place. Now, if you own one and you go to change the blade and it's really hard to push, let's go back to there you go. And it's really hard to push that, then stop, because see, he's got these little tiny, see how thin those little fingers are? The little clips on either side are really small. And if it's hard to push it, it probably means that your new blade actually is two blades, because it's not clicking around where it needs to go. So just be aware of that. The other thing that people notice is this little guy right there. And this is extra swing for the guard. So what people will do, let me shift this out of place, is they push the button and then they swing that up. And there they have all this blade exposed. But look, the cover doesn't go back on it. This is now locked. So this could be good if I was using a specialty ruler that had slots in it to do multiple lines of straight cuts. That's fine. However, to put the guard back in, you must push the button on the one side, then push that back down into place. When you're doing regular cutting, you don't need to have it up like that. That's so much blade that's exposed. There's more chance for us to cut ourselves and do things like that. And then also we want to make sure that that blade can easily go back in, because that's the safety, that we want to get used to. So another thing that I've noticed is that when people are cutting, sometimes they cut like straight up and down like this. Let's go to the big ones for that one. They cut like this. Now look at how your wrist is. That's not ergonomic at all, right? And then you've got all this blade exposed, and it's really, really not great. So it's meant to be used like this, so you have a nice straight line on your wrist and you're not going to tire your wrist out. Okay, so now let's talk about the nitty-gritty of the sizes of rulers. So I have a standard 24-inch ruler here, and here is my rotary cutter, and I can just cut that really nicely, and I've got a nice sharp cut. Works really, really well. The 45 works on all general things, like 4 layers of quilter's cotton, that sort of thing. If you're going to go to more layers or more hefty stuff, consider a 60. So this is 6 layers of denim here. And again, you are going to stand up to cut. You're not going to sit down to cut because you don't have the leverage. But this little guy, if I try to cut this with the 45, it just does not work at all. So here we go. I got all 6 layers of denim all at one time. The other thing that makes this great, the 60 is awesome for fluffy stuff. I've got 6 layers of batting, which of course the 45 would not be pleased with. And we can cut through that, and I missed one. And you can go through all your layers of batting. If you take a look, where am I, Chris? Let's come around. See how high up on that road, I got to go a little bit more, don't I? See how high up all those layers go? So that works with a 60. Let's see what it does on a 45. There's no way. See, it could not cut that much. So that's another reason for the 60. Other fabrics would be like the minky, polar fleece, sweatshirt fleece, things like that, toweling, all that sort of thing. You want a larger rotary cutter. Now, in comparison between the two, another thing that makes them different is the circumference of the blade itself. So this one is like taking a brisk walk with a Seattle Sounder. Or no, they're not tall necessarily. What was the team who was the team? Sonics, the Sonics, which don't exist anymore. But you know, you're walking. My son is 6'6", so this is his legs, right? And these would be my legs. So he makes a nice long stride. So this one cuts beautiful long straight lengths of fabric all at one time. This one you have to work a little bit harder because it's rotating, have to rotate more, where this is a smoother cut. Okay, so this is me taking a walk with my son. Okay, this guy is the 28. This guy is little, right? So this is like my granddaughter taking a walk with my son and then with me, right? Little legs are going to have to go really, really super fast to do this. So this guy can do the straight cuts, it can do the long lengths, but you're not going to be happy because you have to, it just has to work that much harder to get a straight long cut with a little cutter like this. So what on earth is he even good for? Let's talk about it. So if I have this is great to have. It's weighted as well. It's great to do those straight cuts. However, where it really does great is, in addition to straight cuts, to do curves. So if you're going to do, let's say, excuse me, let's say you're going to do a drunkard's path or something like that. That is great for that. The other thing that I love using that small rotary cutter is for garments. Some lines on a garment pattern you can do with a 45 because they're just simply straight. But when you get to a neckline or an armscye, it's nearly impossible, and that's where the little rotary comes into play. Now this is a 4 to 6 toddler size here, so going around these little curves is not going to work. This is a size 4 actually, does not really work on with a 45, but look at how nicely it does on with a 28. So that does a nice curve. So no matter if you're working with a child's garment, an adult garment, or a doll or a craft project, if you're doing a curve, the 28 is better. Another thing that you may not have thought about is when you're doing any type of cutting with a rotary, the reason it was designed was to give you the ability to keep your pattern and your fabric flat on the table and cut. If we're using scissors, it lifts up and it distorts the cut ever so much. So using a rotary cutter is absolutely wonderful, especially for knits and things that get slippery. So that is kind of the nitty gritty of the different sizes. So the 28 is awesome. Now, of course, do I own all sizes? Of course I do. I even have a second 45 that I put a piece of paper, tape on it. It says paper. So when the blade goes dull out of my cutting one, I can move it down to the paper and I can trim my paper as well. So just beautiful things, little things, curves, meandering lines, things like that. Use the 28. Your everyday general purpose is the 45, really long expanses and thick fabrics. If you like to do home dec and you're using decorator fabrics, if you're doing denim, doing multiple layers, over 4 layers of quilting cotton, if you do polar fleece, batting, things like that, that's where your 60 is going to really serve you well. So have the right tools for the right job. You're going to be really, really happy. And with that, I want to leave you with a piece of wisdom. Let me get my wisdom for you. My husband calls this my magic box. Let's see what it is. Let me get back to it. It says every time someone asks you to sew a quick sew, don't let anyone talk you out of that 30-minute sewing project, because those 2 hours could be the most enjoyable 6 hours you've ever spent sewing. Isn't that the truth? Anyhow, I just thought that was hilarious. So I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next time. But get the right tool for the job, and you'll just be able to sew and prep for longer and have a better time. So we'll see you next week. Talk to you later.